Hello, this is Stuck in Traffic with Wolf Gorlick. Couple-minute riff on IT security and all things security related. Back in my own car, which is good. You know, a lot of times we think about risk and we talk about reducing risk, right? So you can reduce it, you can mitigate it, or you can transfer it. And so oftentimes people automatically in our industry, coming from IT in general, go to let's reduce the risk with the technical control. Awesome. Great if you can do it. But of course there's an entire other category, which is let's transfer the risk, and usually that's a contractual control, right? Which is not necessarily one of my favorites. I don't know about you guys. I am notorious for just like, let me sign the line and get this done. You know, thank goodness for good purchasing people who can read those contracts and help make sense of it. One of the things I want to talk about today is transferring risk via contract and not really transferring the risk. So a good example of transferring the risk by contract would be, hey, when I was traveling, I rented a car so that if I got in a car accident or whatnot, hey, no problem, it's on them, right? And there's a contract clause that says, you know, insurance, blah, blah, blah. So if anything happens, I'm covered. All I have to do is return the car in whatever state it's in and go about my business. And in the same way, organizations are oftentimes partnering with other groups to transfer their risk. To the cloud is the quintessential example, where people host with Rackspace or whatnot to build their apps. Not realizing, you know, fail number one, not realizing that that doesn't necessarily protect your risk at the application layer. So oftentimes, if you go to purchase software as a service app and you're like, hey, let me see, you know, your risk posture. Do you have a SSAE 16 form or, you know, a bits form that you can share with me? What do? They send you the SSAE 16 that Rackspace provides them. No, that does not protect your risk at the application layer. Yes, host down, infrastructure, you're covered, fantastic. But what I'm buying from you, being an application vendor, is an app. That's not covered under that contract. Be very careful with people who try to pull that, because I see that all the time. Vendors like, oh yeah, sure, we're 100% compliant with all major standards and PCI and everything because we're at Amazon. And Amazon, no. Just no. Fail number two, and this one's kind of sneaky, is that some of these outsourcers have gotten wise to the fact that we're outsourcing risk to them, right? So they've written clauses in the contract to say that they'll deliver the services, but they won't take on the risk. Give you a perfect example of that. Let's say you're an organization and you've got a parking structure, pretty normal, and to pay for the parking structure, of course, you got toll booths and cards and the whole 9 yards, ticket systems, everything. In the good old days, you would run all that yourself, which of course means staffing and equipment costs and everything else, as well as means taking on the liability for credit card theft, right? So taking the liability for the PCI risk. So people are now outsourcing that. Just give it to another provider and let them run with it. Well, when you review some of these outsourced contracts, what they say is that yes, the provider who is taking on the service for the toll swipes, the cards, whatever, yeah, absolutely. We will gladly handle it. We'll use our own merchant ID. We'll do the payment processing, etc. However, you, person or company X that's outsourcing with us, will be the sub-merchant. And then the fine print says the sub-merchant is responsible for all PCI compliance issues, as well as ensuring the security of the entire infrastructure. In other words, you've now outsourced the equipment, great, without actually mitigating the risk, because if there is a breach, you're still on the hook for it. Sneaky contracts. So, looking for something to do today? Bored? I know you are. Think of a couple of the arrangements you have that are outsourced that you're using to mitigate the risk. Pull the contracts. Look at the fine clause. You might not be as covered as you think you are. See you tomorrow.